Welcome back to the Multifamily Investing Podcast. This is Charles Dobbins, the founder of the Multifamily Investing Academy and the multifamilyattorney.com. And every week we delve into the good, the bad, the ugly, the comic, the heartbreaking stories of multifamily ownership. They will inspire you to do what you've always dreamt of doing. So sit back and enjoy the best training on multifamily investing on the internet today. Enjoy.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, that's a great question.
It's a great question.
Great question.
It's a good question.
This is a really good question right here.
It's a great question, by the way.
That's a great question.
That's a really good question.
Yeah, so that's a great question, Charlie.
Great question.
Yeah, that's a great question.
You know, that's a great question.
Good question.
Great question.
Great question.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Hey, everybody, this is Charles Dobbins, the multifamilyattorney.com and the founder of the Multifamily Investing Academy. And I am here with Ira Singer, my next guest. He's going on the hot seat again this time. And we're going to see if he can survive another round with Charles Dobbins and his most amazing questions. And let me give you a little background on Ira. He's a little bit different, but man, I've got a ton of questions for him already. He is he leads the new business development, marketing strategy, team culture and development, construction, production, and the management and trade partner and vendor relationships for Mosaic Construction. Okay. Now he's one of the three principals, and we're going to talk about his business and how he works with his principals since 2005, back during the height when things were when everybody was making money. And then we're going to talk about how he survived the downturn. So he's got some marks on his back, like we do. But he works, he does, well, we're going to get into exactly what he does because it's very unique. It's kind of cool. I'll get to it in a moment. I'm already talking so fast. Mosaic Construction has offices in Chicago and Northbrook, Illinois, as well as Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He's got over 25 years of experience. His partner is an architect. He does the construction side of it. And so, Ira, welcome to the Multifamily Investing Academy podcast.
Well, thanks, Charles. It's good to be here. I'm excited, and I'm feeling your energy. So let's get going.
Well, let me tell you that and the thing about doing podcast day is I get podcasts all day today, like 4 o'clock. I will look exactly the same at 4 o'clock as I do right now because I just get so fired up for these podcasts. But I appreciate you being here because you're out in Chicago right now. You're an hour behind us, so you're early. This is I think you still have your pajama bottoms on. You're working out of your bedroom. You got a very strange wall in your bedroom. I'll tell you. The
workday started 2 hours ago. Construction starts early, and it doesn't matter that it's 8 o'clock. My day starts at about 4:30. My office team finally is back, half at 50% in our physical office in Northbrook. We've obviously been working since March as an essential business, but remotely.
Just keep in mind, for those people listening right now, I don't know when you're hearing this podcast, we are in the midst of the COVID thing. And okay, now let's get started. First, I want to get back up because, people who listen to me, have been following me, know that the next path in my progress here is going to be construction of multifamily. And this is new to me, and I'm learning, as I go, and I'm tapping into people who can give me some great advice. How did you get started in construction?
So my career started in 1989, going to work for a window siding sales organization in the Chicago market. I was trained on how to go into homes and sell window replacement, really. And after a short stint there, I started my own company and worked with the guy for several years doing residential, mostly single family, window, door, siding, roofing, exterior improvement replacements. And as it turns out, we got into the multifamily game fairly early, as when you are an expert in any type of construction, the asset class that you work in is very transferable. And so all of a sudden we were bidding and winning large scale exterior work in apartment communities, doing roofing, gutters, siding, doors, and window replacements. And that brought me into those assets, which brought me into the interiors of the buildings. And all of a sudden we were being asked for, common area improvements and unit upgrades and other amenity-based areas. And so over the course of my almost 30 years in doing construction, I've been working in all asset classes of multifamily as a design, build, renovator, be it workforce housing, student housing, senior housing, which often will involve tax credit financing that my clients will obtain that we will be paid with. We've also worked in Class A. Chicago has such a diverse landscape of real estate assets that you can really get all of those multifamily assets covered within the footprint of Chicagoland.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So but at this time, I can tell you and I know you don't do this now because you totally pivoted into a new direction for construction, but that aspect of going in there and doing the rehab on those apartment units and, renovating and turning those apartments, that's a great niche to be in anytime, because especially now, it's so tough to build new construction for multifamily. Everybody's renovating, everybody's rehabbing the units. You don't do any of that anymore, right?
No, of course we do. We do that all the time.
Oh, you do?
So
Okay,
we're multifamily, exterior, interior. Really doesn't matter in terms of the asset type. If it's a multifamily asset, we've been hired to do lobby renovations, package room renovations, add a dry cleaner into an asset that's a Class A, and of course, soup to nuts from inside the units to the various corridors, to amenity upgrades, exterior work. It really is a discussion early on, hopefully when an asset is being in due diligence and an owner is looking at a possible purchase, to bring us on for our expertise to help with valuing the investment that they're going to make, what our eyes see in terms of the current condition of the asset, what might need future dollars, depending on the investment strategy, whether it's a short-term hold for them, of 3 to 5 year, or whether it's a long-term hold for income.
Okay, well, listen, I'm as soon as I'm done this, I'm shooting over the raw footage to a couple of clients of mine who are in the Milwaukee, Chicago area, and they're doing exactly that. You would be perfect to connect with these guys. But let's talk about what you're doing now for new construction and renovation. You're big into renovation. Renovation is your thing. Okay.
That's correct.
Now, let me tell you, you talk to a construction guy, and every contractor I've ever spoken to, they hate renovations because they prefer to build brand new because it's a lot easier. Everything is square. They can start they pour their own foundation. Everything is perfect. You're going into that tough market where you got to think outside the box.
Well, that's where we've cut our teeth. We've always been inside of existing structures and, coming to it from a relationship base where we are trying to put ourselves on the side of our clients as opposed to, that contractor adversarial relationship that exists that you hear stories about. We want to be involved early to help with selection of finishes, to discuss pre-budgeting, to ultimately get hired to manage the process. We see ourselves as producer directors, not, contractor for hire. We are team oriented. And so as you look at construction, not only my trade partner team and my vendor relationships, but specifically my Mosaic office team, who is on the project daily, providing updates and moving the project from launch into execution, through inspection, obviously into punch list and completion. There is a whole lot of work that goes into the renovation. And since we've always done that from single family to multifamily to commercial and medical, we've been in all kinds of asset classes. And I agree with you, Charles, the renovation work is a significantly different challenge when you're coming in where it's typically a lived-in space or occupied space. Where existing systems need to be outfitted to tie into new systems, where hidden conditions can live as you're knocking out walls and renovating. And you have the traffic of not only my trade teams and my management team, but also likely the tenants, the residents, the owners who may be in the space. So it's challenging.
Now, do you do any type, are all of your deals essentially fee-based, meaning you get paid, or do you take any cut of the deal? Is there any type of involvement that way?
So we've been approached by a few of our clients to get involved in their assets, and we have chosen to keep the relationship as a stipulated sum contractor for hire. That way, you know, we are very clear on how we are set up. One of the things that I think differentiates us is that we are very transparent. I know that today that is a buzzword in any business, but really it's always been a hallmark of how we approach construction, in that our trades that we're buying their construction costs at are shown transparently to our clients, and we figure based on our time and supervision to manage the project and our overhead and some profit, our fees for Mosaic are a stipulated sum. And that way it shows the client, you know, what they're paying to bring Mosaic as the manager, the general contractor, into the deal. And we have no interest in extending the time and adding costs. We want to nail down the schedule based on the scope of work definition, agree on all the trade pricing, vendor pricing, and our fees, and launch in and go. And when we show on our monthly payouts what the plumber costs, what the electric costs, what the HVAC, framing, et cetera, the client is buying all of our resource at our cost. That transparency allows for us to have an immediate trust build around how we process construction, whereas most general contractors are hiding. It's kind of like a shell game where some of their fees are buried inside of some of the trades, and it's not necessarily as transparent. And so a trust issue is created at the beginning, which we are not, you know, we're not looking to do at all. We have a very clear directive as we are hired for the job, where our project management team is providing a daily client update with photo documentation as to what took place on the project, what are the challenges that are open items, what is scheduled to come tomorrow. And those types of daily communications to whoever we're reporting to, small, large project, doesn't really matter. That just builds like, hey, I saw that yesterday you did this, tomorrow you're scheduled for that, the photos back it up, you told me who was on the job site. You're seeing that progress. It's building the fact that you're seeing the project move through the expected time frame. That just helps to, you know, not have questions arise like, where were you today? Well, we told you what we did today. So we feel that communication is really the hallmark of excellence in our organization. We follow and believe in what we term the Mosaic actions of how our company successes all come together. It's really based on 6 actions that we pay attention to with my team within my office structure, which is number 1, to build relationships with our trades, with our clients, with key network and referral opportunities within our marketplace. In construction, close the loop is probably the biggest thing in project management that we focus on with our production team.
Is that number 2?
That is production. Close the loop is 2. Build relationships is 1. We believe in contributing to a positive environment, be it in our office setting, in our job settings, and that means showing up prepared and having a positive attitude. 4 is anticipating needs. Experience in construction cannot be overstated. Yes, the asset is different, the improvement is different, the contract has a different nuance, but going through and managing construction and knowing what we've done in past projects to help foresee what might be coming down the road, anticipating the needs is a key project management piece. The 5th one, of course, is to communicate the story, which you're giving me an opportunity today to talk about our company, and that helps to build relationships. And then lastly is do it the right way. Do it the right way is about putting your head down at the end of the day, that you feel you've put a good day's work in, that you're honest, that you're a contributing member of a team, and that you move the ball forward. You know, doing it the right way, it's ambiguous because I'm not going to dictate for my trade partners or my team that I employ what that means. And there's an overarching theme of do it the right way. And so those are the Mosaic actions. Those lead to success in our company.
I can tell you the first and the last are spot on for me, which is build relationships. My business is all about relationships. And then if you go on any of my advertising, any of my websites, everything, the whole thing I say is I teach you how to do it the right way.
Absolutely.
Because let me ask you something, Ira. You, as probably as I did, have done it the wrong way enough time so that
Absolutely.
we can prevent people from making the mistakes and we can do it right. Hi, this is Charles Dobbins, the founder of the Multifamily Investing Academy and the multifamilyattorney.com. And I want to invite you to check out the best coaching, consulting, mentoring program on the internet today, the MFIA Owner Forum. Now, if you're looking to jumpstart your multifamily business, this is the program for you because it protects you every step of the way to make sure that you do these deals the right way. Believe me, I've done enough deals. I know how to do it the wrong way, and there's no need for you to duplicate my past efforts. So what the Owner Forum is a group of multifamily investors, all different levels. Some own 4,000 units, some haven't bought their first property. But we all come together to help each other get across that finish line. And within the Owner Forum, what we do is remove all of those roadblocks that every single multifamily transaction has. Check it out. Go on our webpage, click the link. Try it out, risk-free, money-back guarantee, and this is not one of those $30,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 coaching programs. Those are ripoffs. The Owner Forum is a program that you deal with every single month, and we help you every single month get to your goal of being a multifamily investor. So check it out right now, and I'll see you on the other side.
My partner, Andy, loves to say you learn more by doing things the wrong way.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the best training wheels that you can work through and take off by things that are mistakes, but you have to be intentional around learning. You know, if you repeat the same mistakes over and over again, you're not a successful business. And so we have certainly made mistakes. We're accountable to those mistakes. We're transparent about those mistakes, which is somewhat refreshing in construction because it's not a perfect business in terms of the building and the fact that we're managing dozens and dozens of independent trade companies to process the construction project. We have a great relationship with them, and they're not our direct employees. So, you know, man plans and God laughs in the construction business as we are planners. We build schedules. We work with great communication to affect the process of the project moving forward, and yet something happens, a delivery, a scratch product, a delay, a sickness, a pandemic. Talk about interruption. It's beyond sometimes my ability to wave my magic wand and want for things to go perfectly. And it's hard in the construction business.
You know, you say man plans and God laughs. That I've heard that saying in so many different ways. Do you know who they say was the first New York City firefighter to die in 9/11? Do you know who is given that? The chaplain, the one where he was coming out of one of the buildings and something landed on him and he was killed. And when they were, waking him, when they were eulogizing him, they said his favorite expression was, "You want to make God laugh? Tell him what you're going to do tomorrow." And that's the same thing. Man plans, God laughs. Like, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Only God knows. So don't tell me how your day is going to go. Only God really knows what's going to go today. And now another thing is when you talk about about failure, let's talk about failure, because I always say, don't trust anybody that hasn't failed. If somebody's out there telling you that they've done everything right, stay away from that person because they haven't been in the game, especially in the real estate game. There are tons of mistakes to be made. Let me ask you this. How'd you do during the last downturn? I mean, because you said 89. You and I are pretty close to the same age when we get started. We've got the marks on our back from essentially 3 downturns in the real estate market, and you've been in that all the time. So how'd you do during the last time? How'd you survive? How'd you keep your business going?
So it's a great question. The answer is simple. The answer is based on one of the Mosaic actions. It's really about the relationships. We were in business for several years. As 2008 was hitting, we made some very key strategic decisions around bringing money in, around conserving spending, around blessing our relationships, we picked up a couple of large contracts that helped sustain us in the immediate time when things were literally going nowhere. We picked up a large multifamily makeover of a couple $1 million and a single family residential makeover, which is still one of the types of work that we do under a different brand called Design Construction Concepts, which my partner Andy founded 30 years ago and is still part of our overall wheelhouse of work. And the reality of building relationships, what we did that we thought was revolutionary is we invested in philanthropy. We started to show up at where our clients live in the community based on the charitable organizations that they were supporting. My company started to make obviously advertising at their gala events. We showed up on committees and on boards. And so the philanthropy, the genuine giving of our time and our resources allowed us to stay in front of the people that matter, the relationships that matter. And through that downturn, we picked up business and we came out of it stronger, more defined. We were leaner, we were stronger, we were smarter. We had come through. Many of our compatriots in the Chicagoland market in construction fell away. We were never owner operator of real estate, so we were not collateralized by any banking, that we were short on. We were always, but we still needed to pick up contract work. We just were very intentional around being in front of the right people, playing in the right sandbox, if you will. And it's been a hallmark of our story.
Okay, so you mentioned it a couple times, and this word always gets me. I always want to drill down on this word and how it works for you. Partners. You've mentioned your partner, Andy. I think you mentioned that there are three of you that really. So were there always three of you? Did you bring some in later on? Why did you do that? What problems have you had? Why have you been so successful with partnerships? Because this is where things go wrong. The biggest mistakes that I have made in my experience have been the result of bad partnerships. So
you talk about learning through, the bad things. My first company that was an exterior residential company, I had an original partner and we went through a fairly easy separation. I learned in doing my years with him what I didn't want in a partner. I then became partners with a gentleman that I met through my synagogue, which was just by happenstance. And we got into the spec building of homes out of nowhere. Our paths crossed, and that's what we decided to do as I was leaving my first company. And then the architecture firm that we hired at the time, the partner that I have currently, Andy, was the construction expert within a design build residential firm. There was another partner that ultimately we parted with through the downturn, which resulted in the three of us, me and Mike and Andy. And I'm thrilled to report that, we are like three brothers. Andy and I know each other from our teenage years. We grew up similarly in neighboring suburbs. We went to the same university. We've known each other for years. He is a trained architect and is really the head of our production department in terms of all the various asset classes that we work in. And so he's a construction professional, a design professional. Mike, my partner, who is more CFO and strategy and big picture leadership thinking, has been, before we were partners, he was running a large options exchange business at the Chicago Board of Options and is, taught and been a leader in industry. So I have the benefit of having, very, very capable and smart partners. We see ourselves as brothers. We're highly enmeshed with each other. We've strategically built our team from the inside out with key team members checking the box on various production and administrative and client relationship roles and service. And so we're really the best version of ourselves at this stage of our business development.
As a lawyer, I like to build the fences, and in my business, the fences are the contracts. So what do you guys have in writing? How did you memorialize this partnership? How are you structured? As I always say, The problem is not going to be with Andy, because you've known Andy for a long time. The problem is going to be with Andy's widow's next husband. That's where you're going to have the problem. So how do you overcome those types of situations?
So Charles, what can I tell you is that Mike, Andy, and I are three of the happily most married people that I know. And so spousal issues are not the issues.
Except death. Yeah.
Well, so we're a planning company. Planning is what we do. As construction managers, we plan construction. So between the brains of leadership, between Mike, Andy, and I, we have really checked the box on the operating agreement, the succession plan, the get out of business idea. As a small company in terms of our size with team, so we're a total of 14 people, which is a relatively lean construction company for the people we employ, but we are, a multi-million-dollar enterprise. We have big company heads as far as how we think. So we have policy and procedure with our team. We have team member handbook. We have protocols. We have,
How many employees do you have? How many employees?
So we have a total of 14 that are employed by our company. Yeah. But when you look at all the trade partners that we work with, which are independent companies that we leverage through our construction jobs, we probably have 500 individual people and maybe 200 trades that, we work with 5 electricians, 8 electricians, depending on the market we're working in. Because we're a national company based on one of our other brands, which is called Cannabis Facility Construction, which deals in the build out of cannabis dispensaries, cultivations, and processing. And so that has brought us to 8 other states besides Illinois to do work, which has raised our opportunity to do multifamily and commercial work across the country based on the right type of project for us to be brought in on.
Okay, so that's really cool. I like how you've taken a design build construction company and you've created essentially modules or different brands, as you call them, where you just focus on one particular thing. And you mentioned this early on, which I've got to learn more about, is you do the renovation construction for cannabis buildings. Typically you think, oh, cannabis, they're growing this stuff. You're just going to, lay down a foundation and throw up a big metal, building warehouse, and they can build it that way. You guys do renovation. So walk me through there's no such thing as a typical customer in this business, but walk me through the type of renovations you do for this type of brand that you have.
So design build is how we prefer to go to market in any of the brands that we operate under. Mosaic Construction is the legal LLC entity. Design Construction Concepts, which is a residential design build focus, and boutique commercial is a brand within the Mosaic umbrella, and Cannabis Facility Construction is another brand within the Mosaic umbrella. So we have one legal construction company, but we found that because we got into the cannabis business through one of our retail asset owners that had strip malls, and we were doing renovations within that asset class. When they were awarded in Illinois 3 dispensary licenses, they hired us as their design build partner based on trust, based on the relationship we had built. And we decided that we couldn't really start to talk about cannabis 5 years ago under the Mosaic brand, and we needed to segment that. Today, it's much more mainstream, and everybody is talking about cannabis, but we still have built a brand. CannabisFacility.net is the website. Cannabis Facility Construction is the brand, and that highlights the work we're doing as design build within specialized dispensary cultivation and processing build-outs, which are highly niche and is a high, fast-moving sector based on the news cycle and the various states that are not only recreational, like Illinois, which is the 11th state, but also the 39 other states that are medicinal approved in the United States. So we have taken advantage of that.
So you really felt the need way back then, 5 years ago, that you needed for, marketing purposes to separate that brand from Mosaic?
Well, imagine, Charles, if you were looking, you found me as an apartment renovator, and you were a multifamily guy and you wanted to do your, big window project, or, you were updating your units, or you were value adding the asset, and you were looking at a couple $1 million investment to go from, a C to a B plus asset based on location. And on the landing page of the Mosaic site is a bunch of cannabis plants. That is, that is not as much as for us, it's interchangeable because it's just construction management of a different type of asset class. That's not necessarily a story that is easily compartmentalized for people that are just shopping on a website. So we did feel that the strategy around our diversified business platform, because we've worked in retail, medical, single family, multifamily, multiple asset classes within multifamily, commercial, cannabis, we are asset agnostic, professional construction managers, the ability to manage the project, source the trades, launch it, execute it, close it, doesn't matter on location. We're interested in the relationship. And if our client is an asset owner in cannabis, we say yes and yes and, if you talk about a secret sauce in our business, yes and is really the genesis of that 2008-9 survival. We figured out a way to say yes to people who were asking us to participate in their philanthropy locally, and our world expanded by saying yes and through that, we got into business remodeling different assets that I definitely couldn't have foreseen when I got into business with Mike and Andy in 2005 when Mosaic was formed out of my former company. I didn't have any visual on, all the various asset classes that we would be working in professionally.
I mean, that's phenomenal that you pivot. I mean, that you just in business in general, you have to be able to pivot. I'm pivoting from owning performing assets to building new construction. You've got to watch the market all the time. And I got to tell you, having that name, Cannabis Construction, that among the cannabis producers, man, hey, we got to build this new thing. Who do we call? We call this guy. That's their specialty. And you go in and do it. So give me an idea. Like you mentioned strip malls. You got started doing this because one of your clients who owns strip plazas had got 3 licenses. So you guys walked into the strip plaza and created this.
No. We were doing a vanilla box within an asset class that this company owned. Unbeknownst to us, they applied for and were awarded in Illinois as part of the rollout of the medical cannabis program. They were awarded 3 dispensary licenses, and they came to my partner, Andy, about design build because they were like, we don't necessarily, we have to get these things built. We don't know enough about it. You're our trusted construction partner. Let's go tour some existing facilities, and then we got to get to work. And so, like we talked about earlier, talking about mistakes and how you learn, same thing, whether it's multifamily, single family cannabis facilities, it was a new business for us. There's a tremendous amount of technology, security, HVAC within the cannabis build out space. And those particular items are key to the successful build of those types of facilities. And so my client learned, we took advantage of the relationship that we had with them to partner with them as their trusted construction partner. It allowed for us to brand ourselves, to do an unbelievable job of marketing the cannabis facility construction brand. And all the while, Mosaic is the mothership. Mosaic has all these various renos and various projects. I mean, every day I'm working in multifamily, commercial, and exterior residential, window siding, roofing, which is what I started in 30 years ago. And we're working in high-end residential design build under the Design Construction Concepts brand. And every day we're working in cannabis build-outs under the Cannabis Facility Construction brand. And every day we're working in nonprofit construction for the relationships that we built 12 years ago that, are today bearing fruit, as there are large buildings getting renovated for nonprofits that we sit on their boards, or we are friends of the friends.
Yeah.
And the relationships continue to bless. And we're very, very aggressive in our outbound marketing with our third-party marketing company that works really hard to take the 3 brands and put it out to the various end user for who we're targeting as our potential client.
All right, final question for you, Ira, because this
Yes.
flew by. What are you going to do today? What's a typical day in the life for Ira? Like you built up this business. People would look at you and think, oh, he's got world on a string, and he can do it. What's a typical day in life as an entrepreneur, business owner, and why do you keep getting up and doing what you're doing?
So most of the days have team interaction from my project management team, our admin team, and my partners. Every day there is absolutely things on the to-do list that involve the Mosaic team, and that's where I take care of everything related to my company, specific to culture, to projects we're working on, initiatives that we've got. I have a marketing meeting later because I'm moderating a webinar tomorrow. So I've got to, work on that script for the people that are in multifamily about repositioning assets. I have some sales writing to do because we have proposals that are due. I have some plans to review because I'll be in Milwaukee on Friday with a new project opportunity, meeting our trade partners to have a walkthrough. So there's a variety of things that get done every day. It's all about checking off items on the to-do list. It's all about asking for help from the people that I know are my trusted partners, be it my team, be it my trade partners in the field on the projects, and taking care of my relationships. That's kind of everyday blocking and tackling, basic stuff for me that allows me to go home and compartmentalize the workday, and then get home and spend time with my wife.
So that sounds like you're done by noon, right? Yeah. So, Ira, thank you so much for being on. Ira, how can we get a hold of you?
So the easiest way is via email. That's Ira, I-R-A, at mosaicconstruction.net. That is one big long word, Mosaic, M-O-S-A-I-C, construction. And that's the best way. You can certainly go to our website, mosaicconstruction.net, so you can see what's there as far as the multifamily, and there's a link to hit info ad, and that will come to me as well. And that's the easiest way to find me.
Awesome. Ira, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate your time. I learned a ton, and I'm looking forward to working with you in the future.
Charles, thank you. This was a lot of fun. Really appreciate the energy and the conversation, and looking forward to collaborating in the future.
Awesome. Me too. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.
You've reached the end of another episode of the best multifamily investing podcast ever. For free resources and materials, head on over to www.multifamilyinvestingacademy.com. And if you love the Multifamily Investing Academy podcast, I'd love for you to subscribe, rate us, and give us a review on iTunes. And until next time, this is Charles Dobbins, the multifamily attorney, signing off.